guys? How y'all doing today? Well, baby, if you are the LAPD, we are side-eyeing you. Everybody is. And by everybody, I mean me. There is an interesting update, very interesting update they gave People magazine in the David and Celeste Rivas case. Now, you already know I've been side-eyeing the LAPD because to me, and I am not a detective, but it seems like they're doing everything they can for them to say it wasn't David. Even telling us in a People article, which by the way, you guys have to pay attention to what's said and what's not said. Why aren't you giving this interview to LA Times? Why aren't you giving this interview to New York Post? Why are you giving this exclusive information to a tabloid? And no shade, baby, you know we trade and gossip, but People magazine is a tabloid. And also, when you give statements to people, when you give statements to people, they don't press you like the way the LA Times or the New York Times would pressure you, right? But you gave a really interesting update and insight into the investigation. Let me give you a preview before we get into the whole article. They said the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner has not determined a cause or manner of her death. So we don't know for sure if anyone has the criminal culpability for her death beyond the concealment of her dead body. This is what the captain said, sharing that the LAPD's robbery homicide division is still probing the case. You guys, this is an insane statement. Now you're not even sure that a little girl who was found in the trunk of a Tesla, now you're not even sure that there was a crime outside of somebody abusing a corpse? Are you serious? Because here's the thing. Maybe they are right, but can we play in the real world? If I would assume someone's passing was an accident, I can maybe understand getting rid of the body. I can understand burying. I can understand being scared, like, oh my God, this looks bad, because you played a role in it. Do you know how cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs and how dedicated to the program you have to be to literally a human being? Do you understand the type of gumption? People go crazy from that. People throw up from that. Do you understand how committed you have to be to hiding your crimes for that to happen? Now, I'm not saying that anybody involved with this is guilty or not. I'm not the investigators. I do know that something is not adding up. Okay, you're literally trying to tell us that a 14-year-old might have passed away from natural causes? A 14-year-old? Even if it was, let's just say, and I'm not saying this right, but I'm just throwing things out there for what it could be. Even if it was an OD, who gave the 14-year-old rugs? Who took the 14-year-old there? Who had 14-year-old around derelict activities when they should have been home packing their book bag for school the next day? Do you see what I'm saying? Listen, and I'm very, very confused by their statement, because I'm looking at their statement. I'll read it to you, the full statement. Is it somebody hiding somebody's death, right? There's some type of criminal culpability, because if you're hiding it, I'm just thinking there's something you had to do with it. All right. Now, here's the thing. And I'm about to read this thing, but it's like they're trying to roll out a narrative to People magazine that she might not have been murked at all. Okay, because she died of natural causes and somebody just decided to dismember and place her in a trunk after her completely 100% innocent death. Seriously. After this article, and you guys let me know what you think, I am more and more convinced that her death is much bigger than David. And because the LAPD is acting like they personally have a vested interest in David being innocent, it leads me to believe that somehow, I don't know, it seems like they have a vested interest in throwing dirt on her name, covering up her murking, and just saying all this other stuff. It makes you wonder, was there a trafficking? I'm being serious. What is going on? Who was she around? How was she around people? It really doesn't actually make sense when you think about it. Again, it's super weird. There even seems like they're intentionally misleading the cause of death, okay? Fox LA says Celeste Rivas Hernandez's manner of death is a homicide. However, the Los Angeles Medical Examiner's website hasn't updated, and they said the cause of death as vehicular. They work in the morgues. They know the difference between someone that got caught in a vehicle and maybe, the heat exposure, they passed away, and somebody that was chopped up and put in to a vehicle. Again, it's giving, are you guys trying to intentionally mislead about the cause? Again, I do know that they said that David's father is a lawyer. Okay, that much is true. But the more and more evidence comes out, I'm also now convinced that if David did it, okay, and I am not the investigator, I'm not saying he did, but my suspicions lead toward him as the prime suspect. And clearly I'm not the police officers, because the police officer said David is not even a suspect. In what world do you find a dead of someone that all the neighbors said you were in a relationship with, chopped and in your car, and you're not even a suspect? Okay, but again, I'm convinced that David didn't murk and hide her body himself. I think people need to start looking at his entire team, okay? Including his shady manager, at least shady from the TikTok comments that people attributed to him being him. It's a lot of people that said, oh my God, that's not him, that's not him. And then there's other people that said, that's 100% him. What are you talking about, okay? Again, they might have helped him cover up because he is a cash cow. And seriously, think about this. Why has the LAPD been so tight-lipped about anything that could draw precious David into the convo? But they've been giving up tea about Celeste, her family, she was a runaway, what her home life was like, what's going on. They even released footage of her running away from her home. But you know what the difference is? How come you have footage? You know why they have that footage? You know that footage exists? Because that footage is from Celeste's hometown. Honestly, think about it. They have been tight-lipped on everything. But they had no problem leaking that Celeste had multiple fake IDs, and therefore no one could have known that she was only 13, 14. They're giving an alibi to David. They're literally giving this man an alibi. How does that help this investigation to give David an alibi? No one knew, not even him. Again, people ask, how could all these people be around her? No. I just also think I learned from the Diddy case, a lot of people don't see women or girls as female children as victims until they're And even when they're now combing through their life to try to find a way on the way it was her fault and she put herself in this situation. Listen, there's something really, really dark going on, but I do think that the LAPD might be helping to cover up whatever's going on. Or, right, maybe there's somebody in the LAPD that has a vested interest in the case. Again, that's my theory. Because why is the LAPD going so out of their way to coddle one random TikTok singer? Listen. And again, maybe whoever's around the LAPD is helping cover up. Now, this could be a big nothing burger, but no one in the situation is moving like it is a big nothing burger, okay? What, in fact, is actually going on? For one, the LAPD came out and said that email that they sent the manager was a fake email. But FS Investigate said since certain parties are now claiming that there's no email from Josh's camp, that's David's manager, Josh Marshall, and it's David's camp now saying that the police are saying there's no email. I've confirmed with the author of the email that it was sent and it does exist. I can also confirm law enforcement requested a copy of the email and they are now in possession of it. I noticed the TikTok denial was about the letter by email. How come there was no mention of Celeste? Good point. How come there was no denial of knowing Celeste? Good point. Or knowing she was a runaway or knowing she was underage? Good point. If Josh will go on record on social media with a verified account and deny all those things, then I will happily retract my statement and wait for confirmation from law enforcement. Again, you guys, this is wild. Let me just get into the People magazine article. Again, to me, this is all propaganda, and I'm not disrespecting the LAPD. I hope they do their jobs, but I am really, really wondering, why does it seem like they're working for David's legal defense fund? And for people being like, oh, they have to lay low. Maybe, but they're not even naming him a suspect unless this is a bigger deal than anybody knows. Do you know what I'm saying? Because I do think that there were people around David helping him, enabling him, doing this, that, and the third. Speaking with People, the LAPD captain and commanding officer Scott M. Williams said that while many questions remain about the death of Rivet Celeste, whose body was found inside the car in Los Angeles on September 8, they said, we know for sure that Celeste Hernandez passed away and someone placed her body in the front trunk of David Burke's Tesla. Do you know whether they were dating? Do you know whether she lived there? Do you know whether there was an email to bring her home? He also confirmed that the LAPD did serve a search warrant at the residence where the car was towed. A landlord previously told SF Gate that David had been staying at the LA property with his manager, but that the two moved out days after electronics and more were seized from the home. A property owner told People that he cannot confirm what was taken from the property. Additionally, so that's funny, the manager is saying they don't live together, but the property manager is like, oh, 100% you do. Additionally, speculation has circulated online about the possibility of a relationship between Celeste and the singer. The teen seemingly had matching tattoos on her right index finger, alleged similar to the one David has. But the police officer said, as far as their relationship, it would be premature for me to say anything. The neighbors said that there was a relationship and that she lived there. They recognized the girl because they had been seeing her for 2 years. He signed a lease 2 years ago. She ran away from home 2 years ago. He said, we're looking into anything. The LAPD would not confirm that David was cooperating with the investigation, despite his rep previously telling NBC News Los Angeles that he was fully cooperating with authorities. David has not been named as a suspect or charged with a crime in relation to the case. His representative has not responded to multiple requests for comment to People. Listen. The sheriff told NBC News that the LAPD is investigating this incident as a homicide and her cause and manner of death remain under investigation. However, the Riverside County Sheriff's Office said Rivers had been reported missing from Lake Elsinore at least 3 times in 2024. According to the Los Angeles Times, and residents claim the teen had run away from home, though her last known whereabouts remain unclear, but the neighbors are saying, David's neighbors are saying that they've actually seen Celeste. You guys, listen, what are you thinking about this? I have even more information that gets even creepier. I think I'm gonna go live and actually talk about it so we can talk about things in order. But to me, again, I would never suggest that the police are trying to hide a crime, but this is the weirdest investigation I've ever seen. But more importantly, I've never seen so much evidence, and I'm not even talking about the TikTok evidence. I'm talking about the stuff that the neighbors and her family said, and the body in the Tesla, pointing to one situation, and the police are like, I don't know. What do you think? What do you think? Again, it's all so odd. At the end of the day, what is going on? Listen, I do know that prior to the Epstein stuff, I would have all this talk about trafficking rings and all this stuff, I would have just laughed at. But I feel like we live in a new world, a new day, a new order, and it's something that we have to pay attention to.